You're listening to Saladin Allah.
Peace and welcome to Atlantis Build Talk Radio, the premier station for 5% of Nation of Gods and Earth social commentary, interviews, musicology, and uncensored discussions about the science of everything in life. This station is a subsidiary of Asia and the Atlantis School for Gifted Youngsters at www.atlantischool.blogspot.com and Asia TV at YouTube/Quanaya, QUANAAH. Peace and welcome to another edition of Atlantis Build Talk Radio. I'm your host, Saladin Allah. And in today's episode, I wanted to build about the importance of social context. That is very important because I think sometimes people look at incidents or circumstances as if they're isolated. So let me start by saying that nothing happens in a vacuum. You know, we live in a world where all things are connected. And then if you look at it in terms of the digital world, nothing also happens in our little corner of social media where our images and videos and posts and comments and likes are somehow disconnected from keyword internet searches or Google alerts. All internet activity is also connected and is part of a larger digital footprint. 50 years from now, I mean, if the internet still actually exists, people will be able to find these episodes and articles that I've written and thousands of other literary audiovisual content that is directly connected to me. Some people believe that this kind of global visibility only matters if you are a public figure, and that is just not true. You can actually post something right now that will win you a personal visit from Men in Black, a pair of shiny steel bracelets, and a first-class trip to your local FBI office. So nothing happens in a vacuum, especially online content that garners a lot of visibility and engagement, whether that content is positive or negative. So speaking of internet activity and it being a part of a larger digital footprint, recently there was a modified universal flag with a gun in the center replacing the number 7 being circulated online by a Queens hip hop artist who goes by the name of Criminal God. Now, it was back in like August of 2024 that I first became aware of this artist because he actually performed on the premises of the Allah School in Mecca at a City of God's concert. That City of God's concert was widely promoted and hosted by a former Source magazine writer, Edward Sunez Rodriguez, and publicly broadcast on the Allah School in Mecca YouTube channel. Now, while I respect artistic freedom, there are certain expressions of art that I do not support, platform, or share with others, especially the youth or our elders. This is one of those expressions. It must also be clearly understood that any individuals who engage in or promote criminal, irresponsible, unlawful, or inflammatory behavior are not representatives of the 5% or the Allah Youth Center in Mecca, aka the Allah School. As the 5%, we stand on the principles of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and we reject conduct that undermines community trust and public accountability. So any actions that people are engaging in are personal choices that should never be interpreted as speaking for or acting on behalf of the 5% or the Allah Youth Center in Mecca's efforts to lessen neighborhood tensions, combat juvenile delinquency, or foster civic engagement. When I used my social media to share how this distorted universal flag associated with crime jeopardizes the potential acquisition of our Allah School, I received a variety of responses. While most people were quick to condemn that content, others also took it a step further and communicated their support of an important intellectual property trademark initiative that I put forward way back in 2021 to legally stop this kind of misuse, misappropriation, and monetization of our universal flag. Unfortunately, that IP initiative was not widely supported amongst some of my 5%er community. But as I predicted, that failed support has allowed the continued misuse, misappropriation, and monetization of our universal flag in the film and television, toy manufacturing, jewelry, clothing, literary, and music industries. This recent incident was just another open attack on our cultural identity that we had no legal authority to stop. Some people have criticized me for using my global platform to raise awareness about issues like this and the solutions that I offer. To them, I am the problem for pointing out the problem and sharing solutions, not the people who are actually creating these problems. Some people even believe that if we just ignore situations like this, they will simply go away, fade into folks' daily routines, or disappear into some insignificant content abyss on the internet. Again, nothing happens in a vacuum, and none of this just vanishes somehow. We have to be intentional about confronting ignorance with intelligence, apathy with action, and negativity with positivity, consistently. Also, gossiping about me does nothing to address the individuals who actually engage in and promote irresponsible, unlawful, or inflammatory behavior, or the continued misuse, misappropriation, and monetization of our universal flag. As a radio host and a writer, when I share my lived experience, I do it to give people a glimpse into worlds that they oftentimes are unfamiliar with. My journey, stories, and accomplishments are unique to me. And what's also unique to me is that in every world that I step into, I literally come in the name of Saladin Allah. This is like socially equivalent to having a cultural face tattoo. Everybody can see it. My name is not an alias, attribute, street name, stage name, or nickname that my buddies call me. Whether I am in a classroom on a preschool level or college level teaching students, speaking to state lawmakers, filming an interview for a documentary, or advising United Nations delegates overseas, or etc., I am Saladin Allah. This is how I show up every single day and in every single way, personally and professionally. Many 5%ers can't relate to that. They live a somewhat covert life because their actual names are Donnie, Alicia, Christian, Megan, etc. These folks don't know what it means to walk into every social, economic, educational, religious, or political environment where a central part of your cultural identity, such as your name, is openly visible and is always a potential topic of discussion. They don't have a face tattoo like that. They have a hidden tattoo, and it only becomes a topic of discussion if they choose to show it to somebody. Many 5%ers can literally hide in plain sight in a way that I cannot and chose not to do. With my name and its cultural significance, I made a very bold decision to be seen and heard everywhere and accept the public-facing responsibility that comes along with that. Because of this, I have experiences that others will not. I have conversations in places that others will not have. And I also encounter certain societal expectations and public scrutiny that others will never experience or ever learn how to navigate. So what does all of that mean? It means that as a 5%er, I have a vantage point of view that many others do not, based upon my personal and professional experience. In some instances, that vantage point of view is better because I'm the best knower in a given situation. Now, in other situations, I'm not the best knower. Someone else is the best knower regardless of their age or gender. And I respect that. Yet I can't say the same for others who have a a very bad habit of trying to speak on subjects in professional spaces that they know very little about. It reminds me of a recent online discussion that I had with somebody that was sharing some AI-laced Islamophobic content about protecting American values from a Muslim invasion. I took some time that day to educate them by sharing numerous examples and references of Islam's foundational influence on shaping Western society, including a link to one of my books that expounds upon elements of this that's a part of a curatorial activism archive in the British Library. Now, this person, in all of their arrogant American ignorance, still tried to debate me, even though it was clear that I was the educator, author, and subject matter expert in this situation. Just the audacity, right? Around the same time, I had another experience dealing with a different kind of audacity. I shared an online application for high school students to apply for an all-expense-paid 9-day trip with me and my colleague to East Africa. It's a trip that I've been doing for the last few years. Part of that application required the students to submit either a 300-word or less essay, a 3-minute or less video, or 3-minute or less audio explaining why this trip was important to them. Out of the 75 submissions that I received, 73 of them used some form of AI to write their essay, produce their video, or dictate their audio responses instead of just sharing their own thoughts and voice. Now, both of these exchanges represent a small example of a larger, more pervasive anti-intellectual mentality that we are seeing on a national, regional, and local level. It's groupthink. And this groupthink is also happening within my own 5% community and other communities who have historically valued knowledge, lived experience, and critical thinking. It's crazy. I think if we just take a cursory glance of what's happening, not just on a national level, but even in our own communities, people are generally riding a wave of anti-intellectualism where folks are religiously rejecting expertise, promoting mistrust, and being outright hostile towards education and intelligence. This mentality is undermining our ability to grow and develop individually and as a community. Right before our eyes, we're watching the deterioration of American society because of this dysfunction, from a federal level all the way down to our local communities. A mentality where irresponsible, unlawful, and inflammatory behavior is being celebrated. And so-called leaders, public figures, podcasters, and everyday people sit around and bloviate about people, places, and things without offering any solutions. Sadly and frustratingly, many of my own folks are willing participants in this madness. Yet in all of this, I still see the potential for positive change. I see it in my own work, my children, other youth, elders, and peers who are still forging paths of possibility through these dense forests of ignorance and apathy. None of this work is also happening in a vacuum. It's all connected as well. So I remain encouraged in my work and being connected to others who are also doing the work. And despite all of this madness, I will that you stay encouraged too. Thank you for listening, and peace. Love conquers all, the last straws when the empire falls and universal laws rise from the rubble. This plutocracy was a rudderless boat in the sea of disparity called humanity. What I wrote broke spells while the disbelievers poison the well to keep the world turning and the rich earning. My motivating factor is me. This divine poetry wills eternity. At times I feel the time it takes for the heart to connect to the mind. For folks will take their lifetime. What you're watching is signs and symbols of historical crimes, and the truth can't be refined. We was built for this, like philosopher's stones of alchemists in laboratories in a fortress. And it's still a fine mist, like an occultist manipulating 85%. Steeped in words of rhetoric, had the whole planet sick. Had this whole planet sick.
My name means bright morning star. I see the star, it says all along. Dun 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 dun. My name means bright morning star. I see the star, it says all along. Dun 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 dun.
Love conquers all, the last straws when the empire falls, and universal laws rise from the rubble. This plutocracy was a rudderless boat in the sea of disparity called humanity. What I wrote broke spells while the disbelievers poison the well to keep the world turning and the rich earning. My motivating factor is me. This divine poetry wills eternity. At times I feel the time it takes for the heart to connect to the mind. For folks will take their lifetime. What you're watching is signs and symbols of historical crimes, and the truth can't be refined. We was built for this, like philosopher's stones of alchemists in laboratories in a fortress. And it's still a fine mist, like an occultist manipulating 85%. Steeped in words of rhetoric, had the whole planet sick. Had this whole planet sick.
My name means bright morning star. I see the star, it says all along. Dun 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 dun. My name means bright morning star. I see the star, it says all along.